An honor to Venerable Professor Geshe Lharampa Ngawang Samten, and I would like to share some history with you all. I think it must have been 4 or 5 years ago when I invited Geshe to come and give a talk, and today it has materialized. So, Geshe, I think you should appreciate our patience. So we are very happy to have you with us, and a very warm welcome to you. We are indeed very fortunate that you had this evening free today between 2 conferences, and you could, adjust us. So thank you so much, and you got stuck in the traffic and still you made it. So I'm sorry we are starting a bit late. But, we are keen to listen to Geshe, especially his take on the lamrim teachings. And now just a brief introduction. Venerable Professor Geshe Lharampa Ngawang Samten obtained his master's degree from the Central Institute of Higher Tibetan Studies, Sarnath, Varanasi, and subsequently the Geshe Lharampa's degree, the highest Tibetan traditional degree, roughly equivalent to PhD, from Gaden Monastic University, India. He worked as Associate Professor in the Research Department and later as a Professor in the Department of Buddhist Philosophy in CIHTS thereafter. Since 2001, he served as the Director and Vice Chancellor of the same institute for over 20 years. He served as Visiting Professor at Amherst College, Smith College and Hampshire College, Massachusetts, USA, University of Tasmania, Australia, and IIHTS, Austria. He served as an active member in various important committees of the Central Tibetan Administration, Dharamsala, various ministries of the Indian Govt, Indian national academic bodies, and Indian and foreign universities. He has critically edited and translated a number of classical works of Indian and Tibetan masters. He has contributed articles to special publications and books. He widely lectured at various important forums and universities in the USA, Europe, Austria, Australia, Taiwan, Thailand, Russia, Korea, and India. He was honored with Padma Shri, one of the highest Indian civilian national awards, by the President of India in recognition of his contribution to education and literature in 2009. He was honored with Vesak Samman in 2016 by the Govt of India in recognition of his outstanding contribution to the preservation, development and promotion of Indian philosophy, arts and culture within and outside India, as well as his lifelong achievements in the services towards disseminating Buddhist studies and establishing academic institutions. Thank you very much, Geshe. You have very graciously agreed to come and teach here today.
We may say Sangye Chozoma and Semgye Chanchu Semjo Rinpoche, right? So someone will lead in Tibetan or in Tibetan? You say that? Okay. Sangye Chonam Chanju Batu Tani Kyasoji Dage Chenso Kiwe Sonamke Rola Penje Sangye Duba Sho Chudang Soke Chonam La Chanju Batu Tani Kyasoji Dage Chenso Kiwe Sonamke Rola Penje Sangye Duba Sho Chudang Soke Chonam La Chanju Batu Tani Kyasoji Dage Chenso Kiwe Sonamke Rola Penje Sangye Duba Sho Chanju yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Senjo Rinpoche, Mage Bana Ge Gyoshi, Keva Nyamba Me Baya, Gone Gondo Deva Sho. So, in the beginning, I will say a Sanskrit shlok venerating Buddha. Sarvadrishti parahanaye yat saradhamam adeshyat anukambam ubadaye tam gautamam namami. So this is the Sanskrit and Tibetan version. Kange tuze nyersumwe tawa tamje pangbe shi tambe shuni dunze kodam de la cha se. Thank you, Professor Renukaji, for inviting me. And I was told to speak on lamrim, right? So, lamrim is this word itself, lamrim, the gradations of path or stages of path or pathakrama. So it is the word itself says a lot. Lamgirimba, we have to go stage by stage, and it shows the whole, stages of path, from where to start and to where to go. So therefore, quite often we have generally people have this, kind of desire to get to the highest path and to achieve the highest realization or the highest stage of path. And then when one listens and reads the text and gets idea about what lamrim is and what are the paths that can lead to enlightenment and things like that. So yes, the total enlightenment is the highest path. Oh, I must get there. So then the eyes go directly to total enlightenment, and then tries to find a path, which is quickest to that, which can be tantric practice or bodhisattva's practice. And quite often the small scope person and the middle scope person's path are left out. Once these are left out in one's scope of study, one's scope of plan for the enlightenment, then one cannot reach there, and that is for sure. So when we see the path, we have to start from scratch, from zero. Of course, through information, through the teachings of the teachers, and also by reading texts, through all sources of information, one can see the path over there. That is the highest, stage of spirituality. Then one's eyes fall on that, and then tries, that is very much there, like just as, in the modern business life also, one aims at the highest and the fastest way. So therefore, of course, it is very good to the practice of bodhicitta and bodhisattva practices, and also receive initiations and start doing tantric practices. That is extremely beneficial, but doing that we should also follow. First, we should start our practice from the small scope person. That is the most important thing. So that is why you say Kibusum Gilam Girimba, the three stages of the path of three different persons, they are practiced in one session or in one session of meditation in Tibetan tradition. So there is no contradiction between the Shravaka practices and the Mahayana practices. And in order to start the Shravaka practice also, first we need to go to the lower stage, that is the first, the small scope persons. And we need to remind ourselves that, am I doing the right thing? Am I capable to, catch up this path at this stage, being at this, at this kind of, with this kind of efficiency and capability of forwarding, in terms of spirituality, where I am. Therefore, where I am is often needed to be questioned. And then where I am, from there we need to start, right? This is very, very important. So in the small scope person, of course, the 10 karmas, the 10 virtuous karmas, they are to be observed, which is necessarily to be followed by taking refuge. And then that is the doorway to become a practitioner in Buddhist tradition. So taking refuge itself is quite challenging, really very, very challenging. First of all, we need to understand what are the three refuges, and then how we, understand them. And then, are we sincere about, taking refuge? And so these are some of the very fundamental things. When entering through the gate of taking refuge, then one can become a Buddhist, so to say. It is not that, by registering your name in the register of the Mahayana people, Buddhist, people and things like that, it doesn't, make any special identity. But whether or not one is a Buddhist or not, Nangba, a sincere follower of Buddha, that starts from the taking refuge. And taking refuge does not mean that you are associated with a particular kind of human community, and now you belong to that very community, and you belong to that very section, and so you are associated. Your association with that particular becomes a kind of a base of attachment. Not at all. One can be anywhere, in any manner, But if one has these, the quality of taking refuge, then a sincere and genuine, refuge if one has taken, then that will not lead the person to be associated with any particular, community or lineage or anything like that as a source or basis of attachment, right? So I won't go into the the details of taking refuge, as you all know very well. It is simply to remind you that taking refuge is very, very, very important, and we need to contemplate on how genuinely we take refuge and taking refuge. That is why Kuncho Cheten Yin Lensum, Sen Lensum, 3 times during daytime and 3 times during night are to be recited, means to remind oneself, right? So we need to remind the mindset that we have developed, and this can be enhanced further and further in terms of its quality. And then seeing the condition of oneself and seeing the situation of a person being in samsara, then taking into account the whole situation of the oneself and also the sentient beings in general, and one's own situation where it is going, this particular mindset and this whole person is going to project its future, where it is going to be projected in terms of the life to come. So the small scope person comes into picture that, normally many people think that, small scope person, one would not stick to that. We must achieve, or we must go for further and higher, stages of path. But small scope person, are we really capable of, achieving the goal of a small scope person? We need to ask ourselves, that is, are we sure that we are not going to be born in lower realms? Do I have the quality of, assuring myself that I'm not going to take birth in lower realms, but rather I will take birth at least in, human or the deva, lokas and things like that. That itself is questionable for us, for every one of us. So therefore, we need to, contemplate and make sure that our path starts from there. And of course, to be born in the higher realms is not the goal of the Buddhist teachings, but that is the least thing. If one cannot go to the higher, person's level of spirituality, then we need to understand, at least if I have a plan to do it in next life, am I sure that I'm going to take a life that can secure me to do the practice, to continue my practice? That is again questionable, right? So taking into account all these questions and situations in which I am, so our practice should start right away from now onward. From every moment should be a practice, part of practice. As I said that from zero, we can see the, full enlightenment, we can see the arhathood, nirvana, we can see the, Arya stages, we can see Sambar mark, Prayog mark and those things. We can see, but where you are. We need to start from zero. Unless we, move forward with the step, we are not going to reach there. Just seeing those stages is not sufficient, but moving over there, making effort, that is the most important thing. So to move ahead, so we need to ask ourselves that am I making a move in the right direction, in a genuine manner? That is the most important part of the Buddhist teachings, that one needs to be aware of one's own mental state at every stage. Because unlike earlier time, there's lots of distraction, sources of distraction, and then compelling situations of getting distracted every now and then. So it is very difficult for us to bring back our mind. So therefore it is extremely important that even if, as it is said, that even if you are in a street, if you can control your mind, it doesn't matter whether you are in a cave or in a street, right? Trumna, Trungna Tarvayu. Even if you stay in a city or in an assembly of people, you do not need to go to cave, but there is the nirvana. So nirvana is can be achieved through the transformation of our mind, and the mental transformation is the most important thing. And of course, in order to be there, to be in a state where you get less distraction, we have devices of going to some remote places. That is why Aranya Gomba is, now these days we say Gomba, Sera Gomba, Gaden Gomba, and Gomba, in the middle of city there can be a Gomba, but that is not Aranya. Aranya is Yangdangai Parchuna Aranya. If it is like the 5 yojanas away from the populated place, then it becomes aranya. It is not, it does not become source of distractions. So that is the physical kind of facility. That is the luxury if we have. Otherwise, being in a city under a certain circumstance that we cannot be out of that kind of situation, then we have to create our mental aranya and to get rid of the distractions, and then constantly be in what we should be thinking, right? And that is quite doable. And even while one is, in the kitchen, walking, and doing some works in the house, and where your mind is not necessarily needed for any particular kind of thought process. At that time, if one can think and think the advantages of the training of mind and taking refuge, and body mind, and then regulation of one's own emotion, that itself is a training and a practice. That is the actual practice. Even if anyone is in the cave, in the Himalayan mountains, they do the same practice. They have more time, less distraction, right? Less distraction. If we invite distraction, then even if we are in the caves, distraction is there. There could be more distractions because you are, alone, and if we don't allow our thoughts and don't control our thought, there could be more thoughts during that time. So controlling our thought, regulating our emotions can be done anytime, anywhere. And that is the richness of, the Buddhist practice, right? You can do bodhicitta practice. You can do, the medium scope, middle scope person's practice. You can do, the contemplation on the situations, realities, and the nature of samsara, nature of one's life. These are all practices that is, they are doable if we can do, because we normally think that we need a separate time, separate place to do all these things, for which we wait, and that doesn't come, right? If we start right away, then every place is a place for contemplation and spiritual practice. So the small scope person, the practice of 10 virtual karmas, that is the most kind of, the basic practice. And now, for example, you see, to pledge not to kill, to pledge not to steal, to pledge not to engage in sexual misbehavior, or and these are the physical, the virtue, 3 virtues, and then the 4 virtues associated with the speech. You can see that at the level of a small scope person, just simply abandoning or restraining from these negative actions are the virtuous actions that one can do. One's mental state is not that sophisticated that one can reach to more kind of far-reaching and more profound actions or thought or practice associated with these 10 karmas. So, because the very objective is not to attain nirvana, not to attain enlightenment, but to think that I must try not to be fallen in the lower realms, but to achieve a better life in higher realms, right? And for that, this much is sufficient. But the purity of mind, purity of speech, purity of body, that is required. That is the very basic foundation. Now, then, since that is not sufficient, one thinks and then contemplates, and it is not sufficient to be born in higher realms, because that karma that which we have accumulated could be exhausted, will certainly be exhausted, and then by the time the other bad karmas that we have already accumulated will come into fruition, and there won't be any opportunities to continue our practice. And since we cannot be assured of being in higher realms. Then comes the idea that, then what is the, scope to be free from the suffering, free from the cyclic existence, then to come out of the cyclic bondage. And for that, the renunciation towards the samsara has to be cultivated. So therefore, the lamsunam, the three principles of the path, renunciation is renunciation and bodhicitta and the wisdom of realizing emptiness, right? These are the three. So renunciative kind of approach is very important. It's not only important, but it is mandatory. Even for the practitioner of a small scope person, the renunciative attitude is necessary, mandatory for the, not samsara, but the lower realms, right? I must not be born into the lower realms, otherwise it is full of, not only full of, the suffering, but also there is no opportunity to come out of that. Because there is almost no opportunity to accumulate merits. So let alone, doing or getting opportunity to achieve some, or doing some spiritual practices. So renunciation or renunciative kind of attitude towards lower realm, that leads the person's mind to do the practice of a small scope person, and then seeing that in whatever kind of situation we are, to be in so far as we are in samsara, then we are not going to be free. Samsara is such a huge kind of web that we can be caught at any point of time, anywhere, anytime. And there is no kind of way to get out of it unless we have we eradicate the very root of being in samsara. So for this we need to understand the samsara properly. The dosha of samsara. In English, there are faults, the word disadvantage, but I don't find these acts, carrying this, the exact meaning of dosha and kyun. Dosha in Sanskrit and kyun in Tibetan. So what would you suggest for dosha or kyun? Disadvantage, people normally use in the books also, these words are used, disadvantage, and the
dosh will be fault.
Yeah, it's a fault, but fault is too light, I think. For drawbacks is also, again, it is not that strong, Yeah. So that is why, if we load these words and in our own, it becomes a kind of language in this very system, then if we see, read or listen fall, then all those contents come into our mind. And so whether or not it has become a language is to see that when we speak to somebody who is not acquainted with the Buddhist kind of, system, the fault of samsara, what is fault? A fault is a very light word for that. Dosha and kyun captures the whole kind of, it might have been in Tibet before 7th century that it might not have had, but now for over 1,000 years it has been used, and this has been the vehicle of the content of that, the heavy meaning. So now Kuen means all this can be, all this come in mind. So fault or so dosha is just as dharma. Dharma cannot be conveyed exactly in English, terms. So religion or spirituality, or there are 12 meanings of dharma. So but whatever the other meanings may be, but the dharma that we convey in Sanskrit and Chu in Tibetan is not exactly captured by the word, whatever word we use in English, right? So the dosha of samsara, we need to contemplate on that. So renunciation can only be cultivated if we genuinely understand the dosha. If we are, genuinely capable to understand the characteristics of samsara. And what characteristics are there? It is in whichever manner we are in samsara, it is full of suffering. And our body itself, the panchaskandha itself, we can use this for a very good purpose, but the nature, the very existence of this panchaskandha itself is in the nature of suffering. And that does not discourage, Buddha does not discourage us that now you are already suffering, you cannot do any more, but he is, introducing us our situation so that we can come out of that, right? So for a proper cultivation of renunciation towards samsara, we need to understand and contemplate on the nature of samsara. And that is, as I was saying, that this can be done every time, right? While we are walking, while we are in a taxi, in a vehicle, or in flight, or when we ever, whenever encounter any situation, any kind of thing, even if it looks pleasant, we need to see that, the suffering nature of that. Again, it does not mean that we are being, pessimistic, right? But to understand the reality and then apply to see the opportunities to come out of that. This suffering nature can be abandoned. We can come out of that. And this is something that we are encouraging ourselves by introducing ourselves, realizing the nature of samsara. Wherever we see, whatever we think, it is mostly, samsaric entities. So just when we see the surface of the samsara or any kind of entity associated with the samsara, then just to contemplate on it and then peel off the surface and peel off the layers and then find that it's all kind of, the suffering. So how we should come out of that suffering? And by changing our attitude. We do not need to change the external world, but we need to change our attitude to come out of that. And therefore, for a practitioner, we must realize, remind ourselves the preciousness of human life. For practitioners, the preciousness of tenjor nyekawa, nyena shawa, the the rareness of achieving human life, and the opportunities of human life. By achieving human life, what opportunities are there? So by this way we can see that if we are not utilizing that opportunity properly, then we are missing the opportunities. So all these can be taken into our spiritual practice. It is, as I said, that it is not necessary that we have to participate, kind of rites, or or a program, or go to retreat, or do some remote place and having a very isolated place and things like that. But you can, while we are walking, everywhere these are doable, and that is the practice. If we do this, it becomes our nature. Then we can think, if, for example, in a day's time, if we, every moment that we calculate, and at the end, in the beginning, people might be able to contemplate for 10 minutes. If we make this as our nature of contemplation, we may be able to do half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and then at some point of time, most of the time, even if we are talking with somebody, or even if we are in a working state, we can think of those, we can apply those things, and that is the best kind of contemplation. And that is the best in the sense that if one is in an isolated meditation cell, then one has to recall those situations and then tackle. When one is already encountering and working on it, this is fresh. And how you are able to work on that, you can examine yourself. You can make the judgment that how I am able to work on this, and how far I can manage this. These are extremely powerful. And this is what the great masters, have taught us, and they have been doing. And that is how 24 hours they meditate. Even if, when we are eating, that is also a time for meditation and contemplation and looking into the nature of things. If we can try, certainly we can do that, right? Even though not the whole time, but quite a good part of the time can be spent on this. And now we have this life, precious human life. Here, the precious human life means that all the human lives are precious. It doesn't mean. There are, different, I won't count those things. Mingi, there is a Tibetan, Mingi, there is a Mingi, means sometimes it is translated as only human being, a human life. And in Tibetan, because there's a Mingi, and Ni is abstract noun, particles as associated, attached to 4 abstract noun. And in Sanskrit, it is Manushatva. So Manushatva is, the bhav, the essence, which means that having the essence of human life. Now we can see that every person has that essence of human life. No, 99.9 doesn't have, don't have that opportunity, the essence of human life. Because it needs opportunity, one needs, all the qualities, opportunities for, that one can, utilize for a better purpose, for the understanding of realizing the, making use of this human life for a better purpose, in terms of, spiritual realizations. So it is there, very, very there, right? That is why Mingi and Manushatva is not all, human beings have that opportunity. So therefore, the opportunity of human life now we have this opportunity, and also then after that we need to contemplate on the the impermanence of human life. Yes, we are adorned with this great opportunity. So now I will do some time, when I have a leisure. Is that going to give us, time to wait for a very long time? And life is impermanent. Anytime. We do not know after, whether it is said that whether the threshold will come first or my next life will come first. We cannot see, right? So my next breath will come, or my, would that be, or this very breath would be the, last breath of my life. So these are the things that we really need to contemplate, and then this, it will inspire us, remind us of the situations, right? So Chiwa Mitapa, the impermanence, and then the karmic system. And okay, I'm born as a human being, I will be born as a human being, so there's no problem. So this human being is the causal relation. The system of causality is extremely important. This is a very unique kind of system in Buddhism, that there's nothing in the composite world that follows the law of nature of causality, right? One cannot expect something from incoherent causes. And so therefore, again, we need to see that, do I have those causes and conditions that can give, that can be seen as, causing or yielding fruits of a great life and better life in terms of spiritual status. So we can understand that what we are and where we are by seeing the causality, the law of causality. So these four things, le gunde chiwa mitakpa, le gunde the causality, law of causality, and the opportunity of human life, and the impermanence of the life, and then the dosha of samsara. These are to be contemplated. Unless we contemplate on it very seriously, a genuine renunciative attitude is not possible. If we don't have a genuine renunciative attitude, we cannot enter into the door of door for nirvana, because renunciative attitude, genuine renunciative attitude, renunciating this samsara, and then aspiring for nirvana, unless we have that spontaneous kind of the cultivation of the renunciation of samsara, we cannot even enter the path of the middle path, right? Attaining nirvana. We cannot proceed towards attaining nirvana. So then we have the out of the three. So up to here, the realization of the subtle nature of reality does not come into picture, because it is small scale person, right? And then from the middle scope person, then the emptiness comes into picture. That because now, since one has the renunciation towards samsara, then one may meditate on dhyanas, as Buddha did, right? Buddha went to various masters and great practitioners of that time, and he went there, and then he meditated. He was so fast and very, sharp, and also he has another reason is that he has so intensive kind of intention, strong intention to achieve path and to come out of this suffering, right? So he went to various masters of that time, spiritual masters, and whatever he was taught, he did it, and then realized it, and then came to the master that I have done that, I realized whatever you have said, but it doesn't, answer my questions. I still have the question of coming out of the dukkha. This does not, solve my problem of coming out of dukkha. The master says, I have only that much, and to go to have a higher realization, please go to that. He refers to another person, and he goes there, and then he teaches, yes, this is the answer or solution for the problems that you have. He teaches, and that is higher paths of samadhi, dhyanas, and rupa dhyanas, arupa dhyanas, and so there he again achieves quite sophisticated. But then finally he goes to the master who teaches to dhyanas and rupas and highest realization of the samsaric, the peak of the samsara. He does that, he achieves that, and he realizes all those things, and then goes back. Yes, I have done those things, but still it does not answer my question. To come from suffering, these have a certain sophistications in terms of various, various things, but it does not answer my fundamental question of coming out of suffering. Then he goes, because there was no any solution for that, then he goes and then meditates. And what he found is the pratitya samutpad and nairatmya, the no self, right? Selflessness. And unless we touch that way, we cannot go to that level of, the addressing the very issue of samsara, that is the ignorance, grasping the phenomena, grasping the person as the self as something kind of solidified or reified entity that cannot be dissolved, that is there, and and as I was saying there also, that the innate kind of self-grasping, and then there is the acquired self-grasping. So the Jimala has coined a term, I don't know whether somebody else has coined earlier. So the acquired self-grasping is a very good, good term. I like that, because this, you have acquired that kind of notion. It is not innate, but you have acquired. And in Sanskrit and Tibetan, the original words, pragyapti, means you have attributed, you have, you have imposed, right? And the acquired is you have, through imposition or through, becoming acquaintance with that, so you have acquired that kind of, So even though it is, one is objective and one is subjective, still it serves the purpose, and it has a good meaning. And then the third one is, the philosophically adopted. I don't know whether, this is what I think the word should be. Philosophically adopted. As you can see that Atma is there, it is Shashwat, it is Sarvavyapti, it is all pervaded, and it is the most, permanent, and it is the most solid, and these are all, given in the, taught in as a philosophical system. So this is in addition to our innate, grasping, and in addition to our, acquired or pragyapta, imposed the self-grasping, we have another deliberately imposing kind of, the condition, right? Yes, there's yeah, you feel that self-grasping is there. Yes, yes, it is there. It is very solid. It is very, it comes. That is why we take birth, and it being permanent, it goes from life to life. And Atma has been, the bone of contention or the subject of debate for centuries. For not centuries, for over millennia, right? So, and also it is really very important, and Buddha has brought it as a kind of fact or reality. Without understanding the nature of self, one cannot address the very root of the samsara, right? So then this, once the person enters into the, tries to enter and sees the scenario of middle scope person, then without going into the selflessness, there's no way that one can go ahead, right? Up to some level, with the renunciative kind of approach, one can go, but at some point of time, then without that, it gets stuck and one cannot go further. So, from the three principles of path, the renunciation, and then the selflessness, right? And now seeing that attaining the path, attaining the nirvana is for oneself, but now seeing the situation of the entire sentient beings, from which we are so much, benefited in our, countless lives. And so if one is going to attain nirvana for oneself, that is not a fair thing, but we should consider about the other sentient beings and to relieve them from suffering. That must be the goal of my practice. So I must practice for the emancipation of all the sentient beings from suffering. And so there are many, as you all know, that there are many reasons to go through all these processes. And then comes the bodhicitta, right? The bodhicitta now entering into the path of the bodhisattva, then the spontaneous bodhi mind has to be, cultivated, and with that, then one can, practice. One enters into the path of bodhisattvas or the Mahayana, and now here at the Mahayana stage, then again we have to see our attitude towards all the sentient beings and our own situation, our own emotional kind of situations, how we need to cope with those situations and things like that. So these are, and then there are gradual stages through which we need to, proceed further. As we can see that in terms of the nature of reality, we can, the Master Nagarjuna, he has extracted the philosophical views of Buddha in terms of the emptiness from the Prajnaparamita Sutras, and has shown in the Mul Madhyamika Karika, which has a huge. Master Tsongkhapa has very rightly said when he wrote the commentary on Mul Madhyamika Karika, he gave the name the ocean of reasoning, and it is really ocean of reasoning. Ocean of reasoning. So really, when you see that even one shloka sometimes contain numerous reasonings at how one should see the nature of reality, right? And so that is very profound. It's very profound and very sophisticated. And then he has shown in other five treatises, the six, they're known, the texts of reasoning, written by Master Nagarjuna, and then each of these has different, the nature of emphasizing on certain aspects. And the following masters, Aryadeva, Buddhaparita, and Chandakirti, Shantideva, they have further elaborated it. And Acharya Chandakirti has written two commentaries. One is on the, the thematic meaning of the Mul Madhyamika Karika, that is, the Madhyamika Avatara, the entering into the middle path, and the literal, commentary to Mul Madhyamika Karika is Prasannapada. So Prasannapada means the clear, what name?
Clear words.
Yeah, clear words. Yeah, Pada again is a problem. Everywhere we encounter problems. So the words, he has, he comments on the shlokas, the literal meanings of the shloka, and the commentary is so wonderful. And the Madhyamika Avatara itself is so, in Mul Madhyamika Karika, Master Nagarjuna has not delved into the spiritual aspect of the path, very much, except sometimes he refers, but then he has mentioned these things in Ratnavali and, primarily in Ratnavali. So Acharya Chandakirti took all of these, the spiritual path from the Ratnavali and other sources of Master Nagarjuna, and then primarily, commenting and interpreting and explaining on the thoughts of the Nagarjuna, as given in the Mul Madhyamika Karika. So that is the the philosophical the lineage we have, and the other, because the Buddha in the Pratiparamita Sutras, not only the nature of law of nature or the reality, subtle reality and shunyata, but also he gives a detailed account of spiritual path, right? And that Master Maitreya, so he extracted them and then put them into a very, shown them into the gradual processes of practice. It is not, because now question comes that, if one reads the wisdom, the Pratiparamita, then can one have all these, the understandings? Because at that time, when Buddha was giving at Sarnath, when he was giving the Four Noble Truth teaching, many attained realizations. There was an environment, there was motivation, there was inspiration. The environment was full of all these facilities, right? Now we have at the moment the words that come from lineage, from teacher to teacher, but this is great, and we have uninterrupted lineage. That is itself is something that is very precious, right? So by listening to this, by reading this, and then practicing this, if we do that, then we attain, right? So this itself is a great the opportunity and the great kind of great the benefit that we have. And then for the later followers and practitioners, then these masters, extracted and then clearly, systematically, and during that time, Buddha's time, and a little bit later, there were arhatas, thousands of arhatas, thousands of bodhisattvas. So by reading this, even though they are not as organized in the way that we see, they have understood through all those, first of all, their karmic kind of benefit, and then the ripened state of karma, and then another thing is the environment, inspiration, and the communication of the Buddha, right? So these all are there. So through these teachings, they attain realization, right? And then the Master Nagarjuna and the later, masters have clarified in front of us and made them palatable for us, that how we can understand them in a very, gradual manner, how to practically go through these, right? So these are some of the things that, because lamrim itself is so, vast, and but to start from zero, we really need to make a step. If we make a step, then even if we make one step, we are nearer to the goal by one step, right? So if we don't move and just look at there and having just hope and wishes, that will be empty wishes, right? And therefore, it is very important for us to move ahead, and how fast we can move, that depends on our individual kind of effort, but we should make move. And then making the move, there is instant benefit on our mental state and in our life. So I normally used to say that these days now emotional regulation and mind trainings have become a secular kind of course it is certainly very good that these are not just confined to the traditional kind of practitioners, but it is open, because it is as His Holiness has envisioned that these are something like that can be done by anyone, by any religious followers, even though no one believes in even though he or she does not believe in any religious system or religion itself, they can practice these things, and that is quite beneficial. And these emotional regulations and practicing the karuna and maitri and patience and working on anger and things like that, these have instant benefit. I used to say that even more than 2 minutes noodle, these can benefit within seconds. One can be benefited within seconds. So it is because if we see that these have instant benefit, then it encourages us. Oh, it works. If I work even to that extent and it gives a result, let me work a little bit more. Then you can have more result. And you can have more result. Then you get the confidence that, yes, if I work, then it has, it yields result. And that will not only encourage, that will, pave the way for your future path, right? Practice. So I'll stop here. So take some questions if you have. Jihan.
Thank you so much, Tushita. I have some observations and questions. There are so many ideas.
Yeah.
I'm expecting you to perhaps talk about translation tomorrow, much more at the conference. But dosha, that got me.
That is the dosha of the dosha.
Dosha of the dosha. I sort of went on and on in my mind. So one thought that it led to was, would inherent flaw be better? Inherent flaw?
Inherent flaw.
Except that inherence is not something Buddhism is happy with.
Yeah.
So then how do we engage engage with this. And that led me to another question. Manushatva, you said,
Mm.
being human.
Humanness or something.
Humanness. So
Yeah.
how does this tradition understand human nature? Because there is no notion of original sin or evil really in this tradition, right? We talk about bodhicitta, everyone has potential for enlightenment. So on the one hand we have that, on the other hand we say samsara is dosha, right?
Yeah.
So is that dosha? So the dosha cannot be inherent. It's an imposition.
Yeah, dosha, samsara is, an abstract actually, which is, what do you call it? That's a word in, the samsara is a kind of general entity that is instantiated in our,
Consciousness.
in our life. This is samsara, my mind is samsara, my body is samsara, my all, panchaskandhas are, the five aggregates are samsara. So samsara is not to be seen as a external kind of location, but samsara is to be seen as the, our state itself, right?
So then the dosha is not a we refine dosha. Let me put it another way.
So dosha is now the problem of being in samsara, problem of panchaskandhas, right? Unenlightened person's panchaskandha. That is the dosha. We have a dosha all the time, but at the same time, this dosha has a great opportunity. This can be utilized for a very good purpose and to attain enlightenment. That is why that the humanness is and also in some commentaries it is said that to Mashin Tuyongoa, who can speak and who can understand the language or who can understand the words, that is not just simply human being. And normally, what is human being? In general, a very generic kind of understanding of human being is who can speak and who can understand, and that is a human being. But here, not just simply speaking and understanding, but having that quality of human being, right? Having that quality of human being, which is adorned with the quality of the
potential.
Potentials of receiving the teaching and understanding the value of teaching and potential of practicing, right? So this is the opportunity of the human life.
Thank you so much, Geshe. That was wonderful. Geshe, I had a question. What are the particular qualities of the fifth Dalai Lama's lamrim? And I heard, but is it true that the lamrim lineages also are differently suited to different people? And does one need a transmission of any lamrim text like when His Holiness gave in 2014?
Yeah, the transmission has, of course, transmission of the words, as we receive also the transmission of Kanju, right, and the collected works of great masters and things like that, and sometimes we even have a transmission of Tengyur also. But the very idea of transmission is to have the literal transmission, and then just having literal transmission does not fulfill the purpose of receiving transmission. The actual transmission is the meaning that one gets from the teacher, and it is digested, absorbed, and then it is manifested in one's life. That is something that actually is required to be.
Geshe, I have a personal question.
Yes.
Can you share your own spiritual journey with us? What kind of obstacles did you encounter?
Okay. We are in the same boat of, struggling with the practice. And any situation can be kind of, as I said, that any situation can be a kind of condition to make your move ahead spiritually. If we can have a proper perspective, which in general can be not very, there's English word, conducive, yeah, conducive to, but I don't say that I can make all this, but there are certain, things that if you are really conscious, then everything can be made conducive for spiritual practice. And as I said that, we must try every moment to be, part of our practice. Every moment to be part of our practice. Even if we are talking to somebody, at that time selflessness of person and emotional regulations, the renunciation of cyclic existence and aspiration for enlightenment, all these can come up, pop up while you are talking to somebody else. I'm not saying that I do all the time. This can be done, and occasionally this happens.
But your life story, the
life story is not worth telling, because it is just, yeah.
In brief, and some major obstacles that you faced.
You see, because my life journey has been like a regular student, child in school, and then after that.
So where all? I mean, just tell us a little bit about your life.
I was born in Tibet, and then at the age of 3 I left Tibet, and then my parents told me that at the age of 3, 4 I was I wanted very much to be monk, and always trying to have and when monks come, then trying to be associated with them, very happy to be with them, and then want to go with them and things like that. At that time we were in these days, at that time it was called Assam, but now in Arunachal Pradesh, in the road construction. My father was a leader of the whole community over there, and so I was very much looking forward. So then my parents made a kind of, took a decision to what should I say, to give me a rope, and then to make me feel that now you are a monk. So some monks were invited, and then they celebrated to by putting rope on me. And it was in 1960 or 63, 64, something like that, when I was 4 years old, maybe. And then after coming from there, I went to school, and while I was in the school at the age of 13, then I got Shramanir, the novice ordination from Radha Rinpoche. And then I was very good in science and mathematics. My best subjects were science and mathematics. Wow. And so I used to secure 98, 100. Wow. When it becomes, I get 96, I used to be very unhappy. But my teachers, used to encourage me. Oh, it's good. You should not be discouraged, unhappy. It is very good, Yeah. And so when I was in class 7, my brother came. He was already in India at the time, coming from Denmark and Iran. They were sent to foreign countries for education. And then seeing my interest in science, he was trying to send me to Christian college school in Madras, where the science study is very good. And my teachers and headmaster and the teachers wanted me to go to Mussoorie, where there is a science lab, and that is the only school where we have science lab in Tibetan, schools. And they were saying that, I must go and represent the school and things like that. The great thing is that, my science teacher was a wonderful teacher. And so he was a gold medalist in Orissa, Bhubaneswar, and he came when I was in 3rd grade. And since then, the way he teaches, it opened the whole kind of, everything becomes so clear. Like for example, solar systems, and then even I used to make, there was no electricity in our, the village, and by wrapping, putting the copper wire and then making electricity out of that, and then making a bell, and I made a bell and then gave it to headmaster to call the, and then solar systems and things like that. So very much interested. And when we were taught one solution in arithmetic, then I cannot sleep without completing the whole chapter. So I completed, when I was in 8th grade, I completed my entire arithmetic course book in 3 months. So because I could not go to sleep without solving the entire exercises. So I do remember that we have lantern, right? And once it gets darker due to smoke, then I reach nearer and nearer and nearer, and then it smells. My hair was burning. Yeah. And then we had a torch, and put the torch and clean the glass, wait for some time, and then put it back. And then sometimes it used to be 2 o'clock, or even after that, when I finish, then I can go and sleep. So that was my kind of, not a spiritual, but towards sea, right? And then my father wanted me to go to Namgyal Monastery. And Radha Rinpoche was there. Radha Rinpoche and they know each other. And he requested Radha Rinpoche, and Radha Rinpoche might have told him that I should be sent, because there was no monasteries or anything like that in India at that time, right? Like 1969, 70s. Then my father received a letter from from Rinpoche that now you can send your boy. I've already requested Namgyal Monastery to enroll him, so send him. So my father told me that now get ready and ready to go. So I said that I'm not desirous to go to Namgyal Monastery because there's no study. There is only rituals. At the age of 14, 15, there was a kind of, impression that without contemplation and thinking and questioning and inquiries, it is, the study itself is not worth or something like that. That was a notion that I very strongly, in my mind. Then, so like that, let us cut the story short. And so I ended up finally going to Varanasi. I inquired, because Varanasi was just 3-4 years since it was established. And then I went to the students who have been there, who were studying there, and with a pen and a notebook, that what subjects are being taught there. So they say that Mula Shastra, Sampradaya Shastra, these are unheard, right? What does this Shastra mean? What subjects, contents are there? These students were not able to tell in detail. So even then, I thought that it is, the Buddhist philosophy, not even philosophy was something that I knew. So some study about Buddhism is being taught. And why I did not go to Madras was that it will, cut me from the whole trend. And a fish, out of water, something like that, that would be. I like science very much, but that will, I'll have to pay a lot for that. And I will be disconnected with the whole kind of trend, culture. So I did not accept, and my brother was very angry. And my father was also angry that you have got such a great opportunity and a very, meritorious opportunity, but you're denying. What a silly boy. So then I thought that now the Varanasi is a place where there are serious studies, opportunities for study. That is how I went there. And being there again, I tried to do my meditations. I did not know what is meditation, right? And then when I was in third year, which is 10-11 grade, I wrote to His Holiness's junior tutor. So had I been a little bit older, I must not have written to him. Never had such guts to write to him. I directly addressed to him, saying sent a letter to him saying that please guide me for meditation. And then and Tijanamchi instantly wrote back to me saying that a boy of this age, it is wonderful, and so I am going to South India, but there is a very eminent master, and I have asked him to make all the arrangements for you. That was Ladrinpuche. And then I received the letter, and then I calculated. I received the letter. I must meet him. No one other than him, because I didn't know Ladrinpuche, and so I must meet him. So I calculated, and I would reach Dharamsala before Tijanamchi left for South India. So instantly I went to my hostel, packed, and then just ran to the railway station and went to Dharamsala. And then when I went to Tijanamchi said, "Oh, that fast? Why? You came so fast." And so I have already told you that I have made arrangement for you, for your stay, for your study, for your meditation, for everything. So even though that's good, so what do you want to? So I asked him for meditation and instructions and things like that. So he gave me meditation and visualizations, and I forgot where I have kept it, but by visualizations, even he drew the how these visions should be and things like that. So then he was sitting, and I sat here, and then he drew all these things in front of me and gave instructions. And then he even said that I have already given the text to Ladri Rinpoche to go through that, and he will give you the teachings and also give the transmission. And also your meditation, cell is also prepared, and your food, somebody will, he has asked somebody to arrange the food. You don't have to worry for that. So everything was there. So then I stayed there for 1 month, and in the morning I went to Ladri Rinpoche for about 2 hours. Ladri Rinpoche was staying at the Sulaka, and then at that time Dharamsala was almost open. There were very few shops, and I did it and was there for 1 month, and then came back to Sarnath. And then since then doing meditation and things like that. So that was the beginning. Okay, so now it is almost 8:30. Again, Changchu Samjo once more. Yes. If you say you have a tradition of saying some other prayers, please do that. Again 3 times. Once more, 3 times. Yeah. Sem Jorem Boche, Mage Bana Ge Gyoche, Ke Banyam Ba Me Bayam, Kone Kondo Perwa Sho, Lori Kawa Repoche, Ake Bana Ge Gyoche, Ke Banyam Ba Me Bayam, Kone Kondo Perwa Sho, Lancho Sem Sho Repoche, Mage Bana Ge Gyoche, Ke Banyam Ba Me Bayam, Kone Kondo Perwa Sho, Loli Kawa Rinpoche, Mage Bana Ge Gyoche, Ke Banyam Ba Me Bayam, Kone Kondo Perwa Sho. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Geshe La.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So please let us know when you can spare some time for us again.
Okay, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and it's wonderful to talk to you and to be with you. Thank you.
No, I mean, if we had more notice, people, and one day we could all
Yeah, of
get
course,
to-
I know. Yes,
So-
it is a short notice, and
Yeah. There are 55 people online.
I see.
So I think it is very good.
Mm.